What's up, everybody? It's Chris. It's Team Dewifed Fishing. So FedEx guy just dropped off this lovely box. That is my honey hole shrub from Pond King. And then here are two DIY fish structures. One that's got some dense branches, if you will, to provide the smaller fish a place to hide and escape from bigger fish. And then one here that's a little more wide open. Both of these, when placed in the water, will give shade from the sun that comes from up above. So that'll draw some fish up into hopefully more shallow water. Got an idea of how I'm going to weight these two down. The honey hole shrub comes with a weight that once you build the thing, you just throw it in the water. I don't know about throwing it in the water. I may walk it out and place it where I want it. And on these two, since it's lightweight plastic, I'm going to get them into place, and probably I'll go grab a bucket of gravel from one of the construction sites near my house being built, and I'll probably just put gravel right on top of these two. And that will weigh them down from the top down, and hopefully they will accumulate paraphyton pretty quickly, and the fish will be drawn up and start using them for cover and for structure. I put 50 2 to 4 inch bluegill in the pond earlier this year, back in May, and I've caught about 20 adult bluegill, and I haven't seen any of them. So I think that's a product of there is absolutely no cover in this pond up shallow for them, so I think they're staying deep. Hopefully once I get out to the house and get these three items into the pond, we'll see that change. So, and next Wednesday from Mossback Fish Habitat, I've got what they call the root wad, which is supposed to look like the roots of a tree. One of those is going to arrive next Wednesday, and I'll deploy that into the pond as well. So gonna shut down, gonna load this stuff up. I'm gonna have to disassemble that one because that is it. This video doesn't do it justice. It's a big round. By the time you measure, you're probably almost at 5 feet across from this tip to that tip over there. So I've got to disassemble that one, load the rest of this stuff up in the car, and I'll be back when we get out to the pond. We'll assemble the honey hole shrub. We'll get a bucket full of gravel. I've got my bucket over there, and then we'll deploy all three of these into the pond. Space them out nicely in my frontage on my house, where my lot part of the pond. That way it's on my property, so to speak, and nobody hopefully will mess with them. So I'll be back with you guys 15, 20 minutes after I get all this stuff loaded up and get out to the pond. All right, everybody, I am back. Thank goodness for having the covered porch added here onto the back of the house. Gives me a nice shady place to work and put this back together. So a little backstory about this contraption that you see I've got all laid out here. Let me pick the camera up so I can make sure I'm getting it all. So what this part is, imagine one of those black plastic shelving units like you buy at Lowe's or your local Home Depot or wherever you get your storage stuff. So you've got, this is a 4-shelf shelving unit, and you can see here in all of those pieces are the poles that normally would go between the levels. So seeing all the different things available for purchase online, hold on a second. You know, they want hundreds of dollars for this thing that you'll see put back together here in a minute. The shelving unit was like $19.99 or $21.99 or something like that, cheap, 4 levels, and then a 100-foot roll. This is 3/4 inch poly plumbing tube from Lowe's. So the 100-foot roll of that stuff that I just cut into various lengths. I did 24, 36, and some 42s. That was like 30 bucks. So for 50 bucks, 60 bucks, I wind up with 2 structures, because over here's the other one. I'm using it kind of as a little stand while I'm out here to keep my stuff off the dirty ground. Because there's the other 2 shelves right there and the other poles right there. And again, here's the other 2 of 4 shelves and all the other poles. So for, like I said, 50, 60 bucks, I've got something that, although it's not as pretty, I'm sure, as some of the other ones that you see on either mossbackfishhabitat.com or Pond King's site, something that's going to work just fine. I'm going to get it out there. Like I said, I'm going to use some gravel to hold it down, because it's light and I don't want it to float or get disturbed by wind or wave current. But it's going to hold fish, and that's what I'm after. So I'm going to set this back down. Before I left the house and tore it apart, I numbered everything to be able to get it back together just like I had it. So what you're going to see me do is look at the numbers on those bases and then numbers on all of these individual pieces, and you'll be able to see me put it back together. This is my top. So I numbered all of these. So this is number 1. I'm just going to have to figure out how I had them turned. Once I begin to get some idea of how I'm going to get them in there. That's number 5. This is number... Okay, so here's number 2. So number 1, this is number 2. I'm gonna have to kind of see. This is where the difficult part will be, is kind of weaving these branches back in. There's 2. That's 5, 6, 4. So that one I can't figure out. Must be number 3. 1, 2. 4 goes here. Because see, when I put this together in my living room, I had these branches all woven and everything to imagine giving the bluegill and other bait fish the most cover possible from a bass darting in here. So there's 4. 1, 2, 4. I'll do 5. Process of elimination here. And they look flimsy now, but you got to remember, when I put the top back on, it's going to lock these all in, and they won't be leaning around and flopping around so much. Oh, this is 3 right here. Set this down. This is 3, so this goes right here somehow. Again, I just gotta figure out a way to weave her in there to let it get hooked in with everything else. I don't want to have to take the branches off. Just want to get this down in there. All right, there we go. And then I'll deal with I'll reposition branches that are like making it difficult when I'm done. All right, we got one more, number 6. So you can see there, before I'll put the top on, I'll kind of show you. So before I put the top back on, I'll give you a top-down view so you can see how thick and how dense those branches kind of interweave in there. And so what that allows is small fish that, if a big fish, if a bass or something comes along out and they're hanging out here, they can quickly dart and they can get in here, whereas you can see they'll be able to kind of scoot around, but hopefully a bass won't, because in talking to a couple of pond experts, getting bluegill to the 3 to 5 inch size is what you need to do to have a sustainable pond where you can grow large bass. So by giving bluegill a chance to grow to that 3 to 5 inch size and not get eaten, you have a better chance of growing large bass. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get the top on this thing now. Let's set this down. This is definitely a two-hand operation here. I'm glad I thought to number this before I left the house. So 1, 2. All right, so the corners are self-explanatory. And then I drilled extra holes, and I'm going to explain more about that here as soon as I get it back together. All right, there we go. So I'm gonna pick this back up now. So now you can see that the top is back on. Everything is stabilized. I will tweak some of these branches, make some of them go up, make some of them go down, make some of them go, you know, sideways. Some of them have gotten kind of locked into some odd positions. So everything looks decent though. Nothing really looks terrible. Get this one up above so I can roll it kind of up. So this poly pipe cut really easy with a tubing cutter that I also was able to purchase at Lowe's. Same thing that a plumber would use to cut this tubing for an actual plumbing job. Of course, you could use, I guess, a sharp knife, but that poly cutter, tubing cutter, was just a great razor sharp blade. One hand, you know, quick cut right through it. Nice clean cuts. So I don't know that I would, yeah, it was 14 bucks, but you know, to me that was money well spent to get clean cuts and quick cuts and not risk cutting myself. So, all right. I like the looks of that. So again, a nice dense structure for some bluegill and other bait fish, small fish to hide in. And more importantly, since it's going to be going in the shallows of my pond, this unit is that is 19 and a half high from top of this shelf here to the ground. So I need to put it in at least 2 feet of water. That way, if there's any evaporation, it still is underwater. I can't, you know, if the pond evaporates 6 inches, the top might be out. But the good thing about that is in addition to the cover, it'll offer shade, which will keep the fish hopefully from going deep if there's a nice shady spot. And same thing with this one. You know, that's just, I thought to myself, I've got this leftover tubing. I was just going to put it in without that, but I thought, yeah, let me put a little bit of structure in there. And, you know, I'll put this one, I'm probably going to go this one, because the fish are spawning. I'll show you closer when we get down there. There's rocks down there, then you might be able to see them now, but I'll show them again when I get down there. So I'm thinking that since the fish are spawning on those rocks, I'm going to put this one slightly to the left and out a little bit from those rocks, so as the fish want to graduate from swimming around the rocks, they can move to this structure as like a next step in their growth. And then I think I'll do the honey hole shrub, probably a little further out, a little further to the left, and then put this one further down. My property runs from that green electrical box right there over to, I don't know if you can see it, that's the main electrical box, but there's a stake behind it with orange tape on it, and then there's that pile of rocks. That's the other boundary line. So I've got all of this frontage right here, that is my frontage on the pond. And then next Wednesday, from Mossback Fish Habitat fish cover, I've got what they call their root wad, ROOTWAD. It's a small structure similar to this, but maybe only like one of the poles with just the pieces coming out. If you want to check that out, I'll put links to Pond King, to this honey hole shrub, which I'm about to unbox, and to Mossback, to the root wad, in the first comment below. That way you can go check those out if you've got a pond or you know somebody that's got a pond. So, all right, I'm gonna set this back down and let's get this honey hole shrub unboxed. I'm excited about this. Says no tools required for assembly, other than they said you might need a little soapy water if you're having trouble getting the branches into the base. Let me make sure I've got everything in a good frame here. Sure do. Unbox it towards the camera. Gee, that looks familiar. What looks to be probably 1/2 inch poly instead of 3/4 like I used. The hardest part of the one that I made myself, sticker, the hardest part of this was drilling through these uprights that normally would go between the shelves on the shelving unit. That plastic is definitely not meant to be drilled in or modified, so it wanted to break and rip and tear out. So I don't think I'll make any more of those, that style. The shelves themselves, though, I'm gonna grab the camera. I had no problem drilling this hole and then the corresponding holes up above. I had no problem drilling through that, but this plastic here definitely did not respond well to drills. But the drill bit that I used was able to go right through that. So creating this vertical structure, nice clean holes, as you can see, no tear out, no nothing. But this one, if I did a close-up, you would see cracked plastic and everything. So don't know that I'll do another one like that one over there, but one like I'm using here for my little camera bench, I might do more of this style. All right, so we got the pile of branches out. Got a base with a nice weight in it here. And one stray branch. Let's see the instructions here. Package contents: 84 26-inch limbs, the polydome, and the weight, which is already attached. So no hard assembly required. This is just going to be pretty quick and easy. So nice thing about this, comes pre-drilled for these branches to go into. And I'll do better when I can do it with both hands. I'm just going to barely stick it in there. So there's the idea that I'm going to put them in obviously a little bit more so they don't fall out like that if they get brushed by a bigger fish. And then it's got these diamond holes where small fish can actually get inside of this thing to take cover from bass or other predators. So in addition to the vertical structure that it's going to have to where the fish can swim in between all of these branches, it's going to have holes all the way around where little fish can actually get in there. Because as you see, that's a pretty big dome underneath there. Plenty of room for fish to hide from a lurking bass. So I'm just going to start in the middle. Yeah, there's about 2-3 inches on the inside there. That's going to be in no danger of coming out. They said you might need some soapy water to make putting these branches in easier. I'll just wet my fingers and again, make sure I get it in there far enough that an aggressive fish won't be able to knock it loose. Plus you can also vary the height anyhow. This poly is flexible. So you can kind of bend them. They seem to be going in pretty easy. I don't know that you would need soapy water. I'm having no problems with them. I'm not even gonna wet my fingers anymore. So you get this in the water, and aside from the immediate cover, you'll also hear, when it comes to these types of structure, or any structure, even real structure, trees that fall, whatnot, the word periphyton. And that's like the bottom of the food chain. It's that vegetation matter that will accumulate on this, which is obviously a food source for the animals on the lower end of the food chain. You'll get fish will lay their eggs on this. It'll become like a little habitat for all kinds of things. Pond King makes some great products. This is the first one that I bought, and it certainly won't be the last. They make a nursery that you can float in shallow water, 1 to 2 feet. That way the fry, right when they hatch, they can obviously pass through. It's like a cylinder made out of mesh that the little fry can pass through in and out, but no bigger fish that would feed on them can get through. And it's got some artificial grass inside of it that, again, accumulates periphyton, and those little fish can move in and out, take cover when they need to from predators, and feed on that periphyton. So probably looking at getting one of those. Pond King makes spawning discs that you put in shallow water, so if the bottom of your pond is silty and bluegill or other panfish want to lay their eggs, that it gives those eggs a stable spot to go so they don't get silted in and go and get absorbed into the silt, and the fish won't lose their eggs that way. So probably going to look at getting, and Mossback makes a product as well for fish to spawn on. So looking at considering those. Pond King has a honey hole tree instead of the shrub like this, and considering one of those as well. All right, start hitting these holes that are on the sides. These are going to probably be a little more difficult. Yeah, these are going to be more difficult because the thing's going to want to move, and I don't want to stab my eye out on one of the ones I've already done. in the video that they show of these being manufactured, these holes after it comes out of the molding machine are cleaned out by a human. So I think that's where they came up with the, you might need some soapy water, because if the person buzzes around these holes quickly and doesn't get all the flashing from the molding process out, it makes the hole tighter. I'm not having too much problem. They're not going in as easy as the top ones did, but they're still going in, so I can't complain. It is hot out here. Even in the shade, I'm dealing with 90 degrees. I was so glad when I was looking at this lot that this house, the back porch faces east, so that once the sun and the heat of the day goes up and over, this back porch will be in the shade, and then I'll really be able to enjoy this porch in the afternoon and evenings and not get roasted by the hot sun like the people across the pond here from me will. So you can see it. You can see it taking shape. By the time this is all done, it's going to have quite a spread, quite a span. You know, it's going to cover several square feet because of the span of these limbs. And even this one, even though it's not dense, is still going to provide cover. You can turn the branches if the poly is bending a certain direction to have it look good. I'm not concerned about it. I would imagine gravity will eventually do its thing. This was $189. I don't know, you know, is that a good deal, or is that pricey? You know, who's to say? You know, I had, like I said, I had $50 plus my time in that DIY one, and had the frustration of those pipes breaking as I was trying to drill into them, and made a mess in my living room with all the shavings all over the floor. So, I mean, how much is your time worth to not have to think about how you want to do it? Yeah, I guess you got to ask yourself what the value of that is. decide if this is money well spent, or if you like the satisfaction of the DIY game, and you're more than happy to do it yourself. That's a question you have to answer. I don't think I'll make any more, or if I do, it will be the kind like I showed you that the camera's sitting on, because the shelves drilled easily, the pipes did not. So all right, so I got them all in except this last row that goes around the very bottom. So a quick, so you can see that's quite a bit of span there, and you can see where it is kind of dense, and you can see where those diamond-shaped holes are placed. That if little fish are hanging up here in these pipes, and a bass comes along, they can quickly just drop down and go into those diamonds and be inside that base until the coast is clear. So looking good. All right, let's I'm gonna put the camera back down. Let's get that last row on there. I've got my bucket here. I'll go get a bucket full of gravel. Bucket full of gravel from the site right across the street from me, because they just dropped the gravel for them to be able to do the plumbing work and for the foundation. So plenty of clean gravel over there. So that's not going to be a problem. I'll make sure this last course is bent to where the curve is kind of down. So it really provides cover. They say to get this out in the water, just throw it to deploy it. I don't know that I trust my ability to throw it right where I want it. So with the two that I made and this one, I plan on walking them out. To get them to exactly to where I want them. I may alternate these up and down. One up, one down. You know, there's been no sign of the 50 2 to 4 inch bluegill and the 20 or so adults that I've caught and brought here from other ponds. I haven't seen any of them dead. I think I've seen a couple, maybe 2 or 3 of the small ones, and maybe one of the adults that I brought over dead. Now, do all fish float up when they die, or do they sink? Do some sink to the bottom? So I don't know the science behind that, but not having found a bunch of dead bluegill, I'm hoping that they're just staying out deep because there's no cover, and that maybe once they discover, oh hey, here's some structure, that I will start to see them that we might start to see those bluegill up. Starting to get difficult now because of it's laying on that bottom row of tubes. This thing is really starting to have some reach now. I'm gonna have to get down on my hands and knees now. Forgot one on that row. There you go. You know, I've watched other people's DIY videos on making their own structure, and I saw Lowe's buckets and Home Depot buckets where they drilled holes and put poly pipe in them, and they filled them with the bottom with a couple inches of concrete, so that way, you know, when they threw them into their pond, it would sink. You know, if you're doing that in deep water where you're not going to see it, that would be okay. But I'm not, everything that I'm doing is going to be visible from the shore on all but the, you know, the worst weather days, or, you know, get a lot of rain and the water is real silty. So I didn't want orange Home Depot buckets or blue Lowe's buckets. That's where I, you know, in looking at Mossback's line of product, theirs are all black. And that's where when I thought to use the shelving unit and the black poly pipe, you know, it's not going to look too out of place in the water since it's all black and not bright orange or bright blue. So I don't have any qualms about putting these DIY ones that I made where they will be visible from shore, because they're not an eyesore. And once they get covered with paraphyton and algae and everything anyhow, it's not going to matter. They'll be green or greenish. All right, down to the last three. Alright, there it is. Don't have a tape measure, otherwise I'd measure the total span, but you guys get the idea. That is a wide. Alright, so my feet are on the outermost tip right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of my feet, and I'm a size 9, are from the widest tip on the other side to the widest tip on this side. So that's a big span, and it's tall too. That's a good 3. That's a good 3 or so feet tall. So, all right, I'm going to stop this real quick, get my shoes off and get my sandals on, and then carry this one down to the water, kick my sandals off and walk it in. So I'll be right, I'm gonna put the GoPro on as well on my chest, so I'll be right back with you. All right, I'm back. So right here, like I said, it might have been hard to see before, this stake is the property line. Here's the rocks that I told you about, and there's a pipe from the sewer, or from the street, where rain will flow in. That's why they've got the rocks here, to keep it from washing out the bottom of the pond into a big hole. But, and you guys probably can't see, and I don't know if you guys can zoom in with your computer or your phone, but these rocks are just full of minnows and tadpoles and adult minnows spawning. So, you know, they're doing their early life stage right here in this little bubble, is what we'll call it, of rocks. So my thought is, where I've got these sitting out, and I've already filled the bucket of the Lowe's bucket with gravel to put on top of the DIYs, but I'm thinking this one somewhere where it's fully submerged, you know, right out in here. So as the fish grow enough and are brave enough to venture off the rocks, they can venture out into here and onto the honey hole shrub. And then I'm going to leave space in between, because Pond King makes honey hole grass, which is an artificial grass that's bottom weighted, and then it just kind of floats up. So I'll buy some honey hole grass, and in the pond in between these, imagine these are in the water already, I'll do grass in between, so it's kind of like a highway to get from one structure to the next. And I figure if I put the big one here, the open one in the middle, and bass, once I put bass in here, hold up, then they're close to both structures where they might be able to feed, and in between them they might be able to catch the small fish as the fish move up and down from cover to cover. So honey hole shrub, grass, big structure, more grass, and then the dense structure. And don't forget, I've got the Mossback root wad on the way as well. And then that leaves a lot of open frontage. My other property line is clear over here. Let me walk up to it, put my hand on this one so you see this one. Here's this property line. So if I go down, straight down to the water's edge, you can see there's quite a bit of distance between where I'm at right here and down there where the structure's at. But that structure's also more behind my house, which is definitely what I want. But I will eventually fill in here with some more product as time goes on, because it might be hard for you guys to see, but it goes in, and then it's a nice flat. And it's probably 2 to 3, maybe pushing 4 feet deep, and then it drops off sharp. So I'm gonna walk these in, and I'm gonna get them out to where they're submerged and close to that drop off. So that way, big fish might use the drop off as an ambush point to come up and get fish off of this structure. So let's kick off my shoes. Take off my shoes and socks. Make sure I don't have anything important in my pockets. I do not. And let's get this honey hole shrub out there and get it in the water. I brought a change of clothes so that in my wading, if my shorts get wet, I've got clothes to put on to make the ride home. All right, not wearing the flip-flops, because you know how flip-flops in a mucky bottom are. They get stuck and you never see them again. So yeah, see, I'm sinking in quite a bit, so I don't know how far out, and my shorts are getting wet in there. It just dropped a fair amount. Perfect. It is just, I don't know if you guys can see that. It is, the tips of it are 5-6 inches below the surface of the water. So that was about an ideal toss as far as placement for that goes. I'll definitely have to change clothes. It'll be interesting to come back out here later once all this silt that I'm kicking up settles and see these things. This gravel is probably going to be a problem trying to carry this heavy bucket of gravel out there. It's probably going to try to just make me sink in really hardcore because that's quite a bit of weight. So I don't know. I may have to go back and forth with handfuls of gravel at a time, or see if the bucket will float. Whoa, it's a deep spot right here. When it's kind of on level ground, the bottom is not level where it's at. Yeah, see, it's trying to float. So it's gonna take some gravel to keep this thing down. I'm just trying to find a spot where it's somewhat level. There's like a canyon right there between my feet. That'll work if I can, but she's gonna wanna, will it just float and come up to the top and just stay level for me? All right, that looks like it's gonna sit there as long as it doesn't drift out. I'm gonna pull it back to me, go get the bucket and try to float the bucket out here. And hopefully I can get enough weight on it that it will actually sink. So I don't want it to tip. This camera. Sorry if you guys haven't been able to see much, but what I'm doing here, and you can see the gravel is having the desired effect. It's going down. All right, there it's actually, it's hit the bottom. I've just got to find a level spot for it. Where it will sit. That's a good spot right there. Whoa, it drops off big time right there to my left. I can't step to the left or I will be in deep water. I would imagine that most of this gravel has landed on top. All right, that's all I'm doing there. Get out. All right. Catch my breath real quick. So you can see it. And again, I'll come back this evening after the silt has had a chance to die down, but right out there, you can see the gravel on top. And now that the silt is moving away, I can see where I've missed. And the honey hole shrub is right there, out a little bit further than the DIY one is. All right. So far, so good. I haven't drowned, and the structures are in place, and I can't wait to come back after this silt has all moved out. So I'm going to try to run this one. And again, sorry if the camera angle has been lousy as far as being able to see this, but it's hard to now this one might want to sink because of all the pipe that's in it. Certainly a heavier piece, ow, rock, than that other one. I've got to watch it because I have a feeling that there's one hell of a drop off right here. Yeah, there sure is. It about got me. All right, the gravel's taking it down. I do not want it to, I don't want it to go away from me though, and down and deep. Whoa, GoPro in the water. Sorry about that. That's not good. This thing's not in a waterproof case. Uh-oh. I do not want that to happen. Now I've got to bring it up here shallow. See, it gets deep real quick right there. I need to go get some more gravel. I don't trust that that's going to be enough. And I want to get this GoPro. Yeah, I need another bucket of gravel. All right, I'm gonna put the sandals on and walk across the street. I'll fire this back up when I get back from across the street. All right, back down here, water's edge. I can see the honey hole shrub. No problem there. I can see the more open cover. No problem there. And over here, now that some of the silt has moved out of the way, I can see the bigger one. So let me go ahead and wade in here and try to get a little more gravel on the top of this one. To where I know it's not gonna go anywhere. So by turning that top shelf upside down, and it gave me that nice ribbed area that will hold this gravel. I'm gonna weight it more on this front side. So it doesn't try to, so the weight is biased this way. All right, I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna walk straight back out, and I'm gonna go over and put the remainder of this gravel on top of the other one. Stirring up a hell of a lot of silt. But here, I'll come back here 6 or 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock tonight, and this will all be settled out, and I'll be able to probably be able to see into these things. Yeah, see this one feels like it's trying to lean away also. So just like the other one, I'm going to put more weight on this front side. All right, can't see it, but it's right there where all the silt off the gravel is. All right, let's go up here and give it a couple minutes, and you can see that the silt has already settled out from the top of the big one. Hard to see, but it's right out there. And if eventually the pond evaporates and those get exposed, obviously the water will be that much more shallow out further. I'll just walk them out and reposition them if I have to later on this summer. So, all right. That's gonna do it. I'm going to shut down, get cleaned up, change clothes, head home. I will come back over here a little bit later and do a follow-up. So I will just stop recording right here, and I will I don't know what time it is. I don't have my phone on me, obviously wading in the water. I will see what time it is and give this a couple hours to settle out, and come back over here and see what it that honey hole shrub is absolutely at a perfect depth. So yeah, give this a couple hours to settle out. I will come back and see what it looks like. So I'll be back with you guys a little bit later this evening. What's up, everybody? back out here at the pond. It is the next morning. Yesterday, by the time I got home, and I can tell you right now, I'm not going to be able to see these structures. There's too much chop on the water. By the time I got home yesterday, I had planned on coming back out here about 8 o'clock last night, and I just decided to wait. Did not want to drive back out so soon, just in case the silt hadn't settled out. So didn't drive back out here this morning. Yeah, and I can tell you that with the glare and with this chop on the water, I have no chance of seeing these structures in the water. So this trip is not going to be worth it from a perspective of seeing anything. It's just a really awkward position of the sun, and the wind is heavy enough that I'm not going to be able to see. So I will I need to wait for that high noon sun is what I need to do, where it's beaming straight down, because right now it's just glaring right in my face. Yeah, no chance of seeing these things right now. I know about where they're at, but to see them is not going to happen. The water's nice and clear. Oh, huge crawdad right there in the water in front of me. That's a good sign. I was about to invest in some of these. That's a huge crayfish up walking the shallows. Hopefully where there's one, there's more. Because I want crayfish in here as a source of food for my bass. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this and head home, and I'll come back out here in 4 or 5 hours when the sun is up, or even better, a little bit behind me instead of in front of me, glaring towards me, and see if I can't get a view of these things once I can see a little bit better. So I'll what time is it? 7:44. I'll come out here about 12. So I'll see you in about 4 hours or so. What's up, everybody? It's Chris. It's Team Dewifed Fishing. Back out here at the pond. It's Monday afternoon. You guys saw me throw my 2 DIY structures and the Pond King honey hole shrub in the pond on Saturday afternoon. I had every intention of getting back out here Saturday evening, but I wanted to wait for the silt to settle out. I was out here Sunday morning, and much like today, as you can see on the pond, there's quite a bit of chop. The 2 DIY structures are visible. The honey hole shrub, it's at a depth that it makes it kind of hard to see. But while I was out here yesterday and kind of just observing, I saw a lot of activity on the really dense, the one that had all the limbs sticking out like crazy. Because, you know, I had the one that had the limbs all sticking out like crazy, and then the one just had like 4 or 5 limbs straight up and down. There were all kinds of bluegill jumping and swimming around the one that was the dense one. So today, pleasantly surprised, got notification, got this early, the Mossback Fish Habitat is the name of the company. I had ordered this root wad, which is what gave me the inspiration for the DIY ones that I did. My root wad arrived today instead of Wednesday. So we're going to go ahead and Flynn's behind the camera. We're going to go ahead and put this root wad together and get this in the pond, probably in between my 2 DIY structures, kind of as an in-between point. So let's get this unboxed and see what we got here. So 3, 6, 9, what looks like 9 limbs. And then the main pipe. So much smaller scale than the DIY structures, but similar principle. So in researching, make sure there's nothing here that I absolutely need. It's self-explanatory. I can't imagine there's instructions, but I can't imagine needing them. Anyhow, don't need them. In doing some research, I came across Mossback's website, and make sure you get it out. They acknowledge other companies, primarily that would be Pond King, their structure, but they say that Mossback likes to state that theirs is even a step above, and unlike a lot of the other ones where it's slick plastic and shiny plastic, Mossback roughs everything up, if you will, kind of like sands it to give it a rough texture. And they say that allows the insect larvae and the periphyton and the plants and everything to adhere to their product better. And instead of using round tubing like Mossback does, or like Pond King does, Mossback uses this V shape. And what they say is, obviously, and you put the V up, the V will obviously catch and hold sediment and such. And then this is ribbed. I don't know if you can't see it, but you can hear it. A lot of texture here. So assembly is straightforward. It's just a matter of getting these in and pushing them through. I can see that there's going to be a tight fit on some of these. Very tight fit. There we go. So you go ahead and put it through, and like, you can do them evenly to where, I'll tap it to get it. You can do it evenly to give you an even spread all the way around. You can stagger them. You know, they say leave a couple inches out the one side if you wanted a greater reach. I think I'm just going to primarily just go with a round look on here. Not going to worry about getting it exact. And also, like Pond King structures, this has little holes in it to allow small bait fish, minnows, shad, to be able to escape into the structure if a predator approaches. So in addition to the shelter amongst the branches, you've also got shelter inside of this thing. So and they've got the holes for it staggered around the unit, so they spread evenly. Got this one and one more, so this isn't gonna take long at all. All right, oh, a couple more actually. Oh, I missed one right here. That's why. So this will give shelter for the small fish and also an ambush point. Sorry, buddy. Ambush point for your bass. There we go. Trying not to stab my eye out. All right, now last one. Boy, it's definitely a challenge getting these in there. There we go. All right, last one. Ideally, I would have had a hammer to tap these in after I got them started, but being out here at the new house, I don't have any tools, so I'm gonna take the camera from Flynn. So there you have it. Nice even spread. You know, not real dense, but a little density. Spot for the small fish to hide. So let's go ahead and walk this down. I'm gonna give the camera back to Flynn. Heavy enough, I'm hoping it's just gonna sink. I'm gonna give it a heave. And if I miss toss this, I can always come back with clothes to change and wade into. But I'm gonna try to get it about, well, it looks to be about 10 feet out there, right where you can see the color start to turn darker blue as it heads towards deeper water. So let's just give this a toss. 1, 2, 3. Come on, right yourself. And already I'm not thrilled with that because it's definitely listing to the one side. So, not pleased with that. And I don't have anything change into to be able to go out there and all right, I'm just taking the keys out and shoes off, and I'm just gonna wade out there. It won't take me much to get that. I just need to grab that branch that's sticking out of the water. Are you shooting that? Yeah. I'm gonna wade out there and get that branch that's sticking up and kind of push it down and hope that this thing turns, and try not to get so right here is a drop off. Bottom is uneven is part of the problem. A little wet, but I can live with that. All right, so structure in place. Just need the silt to settle out. Now it goes dense DIY, where I saw the bluegill activity, the Mossback fish habitat root wad. That was $59.99, by the way, off their website, and $10 shipping. Probably with the wind, you won't be able to see it on camera. My other DIY structure, and then right over there, and you definitely won't be able to see it, but about 15 feet out is the Pond King honey hole shrub. So good cover in place now. That stuff will start to accumulate periphyton, which will draw in the small fish. And now, with an eye towards late this fall or next spring, starting to put some bass in here once I know the bluegill and the minnows have had a chance to get established. Really looking forward to what this pond is going to do next year, more than likely, because I'm not going to introduce any bass probably this year. So I'll put links to all the products below, including the stuff I used for the DIY project. I bought that stuff at Lowe's and Home Depot, and I'll link the honey hole shrub and the mossback root wad as well. Comments below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If anybody owns a pond, I would highly recommend anything by Pond King or Mossback, both quality products. Until next time, it's Chris, it's Team Dewifed Fishing. Have a good afternoon.